The Right to Ricky Sanchez podcast is presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Download their top-rated app and sign up using promo code RTRS, and brought to you by Kornblau and Kornblau, the official law firm of the process, as well as Big Barker Therapeutic Dog Beds. Get yours at bigbarker.com/Ricky. And Kinetic Skateboarding. Get 9.1% off your first order with promo code Dave Silver. On today's show, Rich Paul is meeting with the Sixers to determine the future of Ben Simmons. Damian Lillard wants to win now and urgently. The Nets would consider trading Kyrie Irving. And boy, the mailbag is full of Ben Simmons trade ideas. We will go through all of those and do a very mailbag-heavy pod, as we haven't done that for about a month. Without any further ado, Amos and the Chef.
Larry, sweetie, the man is here.
Say the name, I say the name, I say the name.
We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We was right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We were right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. Say the name.
Say the name. I say the name. I say the name. Say the name.
Likes Tricky Sanchez forever.
Welcome to the Rice to Ricky Sanchez podcast. I'm Spike Eskin, along with a guy who is reaching out to Rich Paul to determine the status of his future. That is Mike Levin.
Yeah. Off
Good,
season.
Rich. Here we are.
Off season it is.
So Jason, our friend Jason Lipschitz, texted me right after Game 7, or maybe the day after Game 7, or maybe it was during the collapse of Game 5. And he asked me, hey, what if brotherly love got picked up?
I know.
And
Me and Pat think about that all the time. Be crazy.
is two questions. One, obviously, the uncomfortable situation. You might not even be able to do the podcast anymore if you're in the third season of that show, and this
Oh,
happened.
I'd have so much money. Oh my God. If I had three seasons of that show, you'd never hear from me again. I wouldn't have to be on Twitter. I'd be too rich to be online. What a dream.
Do you think you would have had to write, if there was a Ben trade, do you think you would have to write it into the show? What happens with that show?
No. It would have been, it's not, the show isn't Ben. It's a character sort of based on it. But so I'm sure there would have been plenty of fun storylines about trade requests and all that stuff. But not because of him getting traded. No.
So I don't want to do too much of this beginning stuff, only the Woj, Rich Paul stuff, only because I feel like we will address it all in the mailbag portion of it. But the story that came out this week was that at the pre-draft camp in Chicago, Rich Paul met with Daryl Morey and Elton to, quote unquote, determine the future of Ben Simmons, or start to determine the future of Ben Simmons. Yeah, of course, there's the line that the Sixers are committed to Ben as a part of the core, and Woj said Rich Paul definitely didn't make a trade request. My only reaction to this, aside from it being basically, to me, the beginning of the end, is that I'm just like, I don't feel like going through all of this. I just remember the Harden stuff, and obviously this won't be nearly as toxic, I don't think, but just the stories every 2 days about what people are thinking, and I like trade rumors specifically, but this type of shit is just exhausting, and I never know what to say about it anyway. I'm just not looking forward to this portion of it.
Yeah, I would say I have almost no opinions, which is tough for a Sixers podcast. But it is remarkable how I've mostly gotten over the playoff loss quicker than I probably expected. Mm-hmm. Although maybe that $92 helped. I recommend it if you can win $92.
Just as if you didn't listen to the last pod, Mike bet against the Sixers in Game 7.
Yeah, as a hedge for my emotional state.
Just one of the most shameful things you've ever done.
Not something I'm ashamed of. And if I have to get banned from the podcast, what a treat that would be. For my own podcast, fine.
I simply can't imagine the online meltdown if I had said that. I truly can't imagine how much of a fake Sixers fan I would have been called for just
I get
weeks,
that.
you know?
I don't think anyone questions how much of a lunatic I am about this team. So I've sort of bleed pretty openly, regularly. I've done it before. I try to hedge. Maybe that's a soft thing to do, but I hedge pretty regularly. Not just about the Sixers or anything, but like if I bet,
life.
If I bet, like I want some money on like Baylor winning the national championship, but I think I probably put like a hedge here and there on them. So yeah, opinions. I don't think I just don't think I have them.
Yeah, there's nothing to have. There's no opinion to have on this. I almost don't.
I really have like I'm in the like nihilist stage of Sixers fandom, and I'm sure once the draft comes around, I will get back into it, which is really only a month away, which is crazy. But really, yeah, I mean, I feel nothing. Like, I read those stories, trade request, non-trade request, looking at the future, analyzing Daryl's quotes, everything. Nothing has made me feel anything, really. The only thing that's triggered any sort of emotional response in me has been videos from earlier in Ben's career when he did more stuff offensively and took like, obviously not like extremely efficient shots, but it looked as if, okay, that pull-up jumper from the foul line will eventually be stepping into a three. That felt very one-to-one. And so seeing that in game and seeing him not hesitate, and there were times over the course of the season where that didn't happen either, but it really feels like he's just, cocooned back into the most comfortable version of basketball he wants to play offensively. And some of that is for the best, some of it's not, like, he's still an extremely effective basketball player in the regular season, but he just needs to not be him getting so spooked out of doing anything on the offensive end in the playoffs, especially in the Hawks series, is just, I don't know. It was a very bad emotional experience, like a very bad mushroom trip that had happened, and it's just like, I can't believe this was reality. And so those videos kind of send me back.
Aside those videos, and aside from the total, take the Atlanta thing out of it, just talking about like the game in general, his limitations seem to be, or his lack of development offensively seem to be based around two things. I'm projecting and guessing, but it's two things. One is fear is the wrong word. Whatever the word is, a resistance to doing anything that he may not succeed doing. Like doesn't want to take a shot he might not make. Doesn't want to, like, that seems to be part of it. Like maybe it appearing weak, whatever it is, he doesn't like doing that. And the other thing seems to be, and maybe this is just like a projection, or this is just him covering for something, but just a stubbornness and an insistence that he does not need to change, and that everyone else is the one who is stupid. And
justification, whatever justification he gives to the media.
Right. So that conversation we mentioned last time, the one with your own, was just example of that, or most conversations he seems to have with the media. So before we get to the mailbag, because there are I have sort of two parts of the mailbag. There's regular mailbag, and then there's Ben Simmons trade idea mailbag, and we'll do both of them. I know you don't have feelings, but from a basketball perspective, I'd like to. There are some trade ideas that are interesting, there are some that are bad, and there are some that are funny. So I want to get to that. Before that, there was a story earlier this week. I don't know, somebody fucking said it on a podcast, that the Nets would consider trading Kyrie Irving. I think I understand the answer to this, but you wouldn't trade Ben for Kyrie Irving, would you? Or would you?
I hadn't seen that rumor. God, Ben would be really good next to Durant. And Harden maybe less good, because I guess Ben as the roll man to Harden would be pretty wild.
If Ben wants to be a roll man all day long, it's hard to remember. In Houston, they decided that Capella, but they decided that eventually having a guy on the court with Harden that could not shoot was worse for him.
Yeah,
so I don't know.
Ben is so much more dynamic than Capella is, though. It's just such different players.
But also as a worse roll man.
Yeah, as a lob threat. I don't know. I think that.
But
I don't know. I'm hesitant to say that Ben wouldn't do it because, does he seem to love handing the ball to someone else and then standing on the baseline for many quarters at a time? I doubt that that's his ideal version of how he wants basketball to be played. So I feel like if he can do that, then he can be more engaged in the game. Would be my guess.
Forgetting about the Nets side, the Sixers side.
Yeah.
The Nets call you and say, hey, we want Ben. We'll give you Kyrie Irving straight up 1-for-1. What do you say?
I mean, it makes every part of my skin crawl, but I think probably. I mean, if we're talking about CJ McCollum as the kind of trade option, then Kyrie's better. And Kyrie, I mean, he played great this year. I think this was the best year of Kyrie's career by a lot.
Can you imagine this podcast when Kyrie decides not to come to work for 2 weeks?
I get not coming to work. I wouldn't come to work if I could do it. Take weeks off during the season. The idea, I mean, especially the idea was if you're going to do that, then hopefully at least you're healthy for the playoffs. Which obviously, not that you can.
Yeah,
against
a twisted ankle. There's
sprained ankle type of thing, but yeah, I don't know. I would probably make excuses for Kyrie not coming to work pretty easily. That seems like something I would do.
Yeah, that is your. Oh my God! I mean, if there was anything that was a bigger turn thing than we did than Horford, I think Kyrie would be the one.
That'd be tough.
Yeah, it would be tough.
That'd be tough. I also really don't want to trade Ben to Brooklyn. That would be tough.
Yeah,
for me personally.
Before we get to the mailbag, Rice to Ricky Sanchez podcast is brought to you by Kornblau and Kornblau, the official law firm of The Process. Look, if you get in an accident, you get hurt, slip and fall, injured at work, car accident, something like that, you're hurt. Don't be a hero. No. Don't say, I don't know, it'll get better. No. First of all, go to the hospital. Second of all, call Kornblau. Kornblau and Kornblau has been doing personal injury in the Delaware Valley for 40 years. Just Kornblau is all over the place. And Adam Kornblau is our guy, part of the Ricky community. He's bought corn dogs for people before at our events. And his parents, Mama and Papa Kornblau, started the law firm. Adam now runs it with his mom. Medical malpractice has been their specialty, but that is until the Ricky came along. Well, now their specialty is helping our listeners getting out of rental agreements and unfair landlords that Kornblau has helped plenty of our listeners with. But they focus on personal injury. And one of the things that is important that you should know, because a personal injury lawsuit does take a long time generally and is pretty involved, and having somebody who actually cares about you is important. But here's what's even more important. When you call or email Kornblau, you're actually getting Adam. You're getting the person that we're saying. And most of those people that advertise, God bless them, but they're just referral services. You're not really dealing with that person you hear from. With Kornblau and Kornblau, you are. If you need a lawyer, Kornblau and Kornblau's got offices all over the Delaware Valley, and he'll even come to you. if you want him to. That's fine. Give him a call or shoot him an email if you think you have a case. It doesn't cost you anything until he gets your results. 215-576-7200. 215-576-7200. And any legal question at all, he's helped so many of our listeners with those things. And trust me, like, don't handle those things on your own. Ask Adam. Or email kornblau@kornblau.com. Kornblau and Kornblau, the official law firm of the process. All right, the mailbag. This one comes from Mayang, and it is less of a question, more of a statement. And I thought you would be a good person to run this by. After watching this embarrassment of a game, this was Game 7, watching Ben Simmons pass up a dunk that would have increased our lead, to watching countless errors and knowing we had no one who could get a bucket, I'm done. Sports is supposed to be fun and entertainment. But the Sixers, who just keep on losing, as long as I've been a fan since the Barkley days, they are just losers. And when I caught myself cursing at my phone and my children asked me if I was okay and had deep concern etched on their faces, that was the last straw. I stopped watching when they were down by 2, and then I deleted every single NBA podcast and declared I'm done with sports. The Sixers were my last childhood pro team I followed, and I just can't do it anymore. So thank you for all the great podcasts over the last few years. I sure hope for your sakes they win a championship soon. But I'm out. The Sixers killed my last childhood sports team. I do understand the people that are like, wait a minute, this is supposed to be fun, and all that is anxiety. But I do think there are so many fun moments that when the season ends without a championship and that ends up making you so crazy, it's a shame. Because even a team like this that I didn't really think could win the championship, they were like, it was fun most of the year, you know, even though it came crashing down. And the one thing I've noticed about sports is that it's almost like a championship and the wins are fleeting, but the losses stick around forever. And that is the unfortunate thing about being a sports fan, is that, you know, when the Eagles won the Super Bowl, it felt good. But honestly, it felt good for like a few days. But I still think about Alshon Jeffrey dropping the pass against the Saints.
Oh, that's
it's
dumb.
just such a.
That's dumb. That's specific.
Well, don't tell me I'm dumb. It's how I feel.
That's a wrong feeling. It's a dumb feeling. I have dumb feelings all the time.
God.
I think the Eagles winning the Super Bowl was the craziest thing of all time, and it sticks with me forever. And Alshon happening the year after, yeah, it was a bummer, but it's still, we're still in the like glow of it.
You're focusing on minutia of what I said.
No, I was. Yeah. I am. I don't disagree that the losses sting worse. I think that in the moment, maybe. Or at least in the couple of days after, maybe. But like, I think about 08 Phillies a lot and feel tremendous joy from that. And same with the 2017-18 Eagles team, all the time. And I think that me personally, the losses hit frequently. This guy, first of all, he's not going to listen to his question being read because he gave up on it, which I respect. I
honestly,
I
there's
respect
no way
anybody bailing.
There's no way he gave up on it. There's simply no way. I mean,
but
that's
if
part of
he has children and he's starting to like. I feel like that is a very good excuse to just be like, you know what, I can't have my kids look at me like this anymore. I don't have kids, so the only person that looks at me like this is Alyssa. Or various stranger passerby who feel empathy to whatever I'm going through. But I really do feel like I'm better at recovering from this than I was during the first Boston series and the Kawhi shot. I feel like I've bounced back quicker than that. Maybe it's because I'm broken, but yeah, I mean, to your point, like I think that obviously the only thing that really, really matters is winning a championship, competing for championships, getting there. And the Sixers have not gotten past the second round, so they can't reasonably say we have been competing for championships. I think they've been contenders. Maybe I'm parsing, but I think they've been contenders in the sense like they were the 1 seed this year. And they should have gotten there, but they obviously didn't. So results-based wise, they weren't. But I think they're a contending team, and I agree. I think like in in a relationship, it's not only like, are we getting married or does it all suck? Like the journey of it meaning something and having various amounts of fun and good memories along the way, I think has to matter in some sense. Like there's this idea of like, oh, don't waste my time. If a relationship doesn't end in a marriage, that means like it was a total failure and a total waste of time. Like I don't actually agree with that. I think that there's value that it could have been good from ages this to that, and that doesn't like erase things that you've learned and grown and shit. Even if it does end in heartbreak, as this season had. So,
well, even when you think about your life, let's say at 30 years old, you end up getting married, right? Still, and let's say you stay married the rest of your life. Still, most of your relationships in your life ended without marriage. Like, so if you consider them all failures, it's a really poor batting average, you know? I do agree. I agree in all those things. And, yeah, that's all. I don't even know what it means to enjoy or not enjoy sports anymore on some level. Like I'm more interested in it than anything else. I more find it interesting and compelling than joy. Maybe it's just because I'm older, or maybe it's because I've worked in sports media now for 10 years.
Yeah.
But my interest is more in them doing the right things and being interested in it than it is the joy or sadness of wins and losses for me.
Yeah,
but I've been
you're
that way
Kevin
for
O'Connor.
long.
You're not even a fan anymore. Doesn't even. You're just totally agnostic.
I'm definitely not agnostic. Let's do the Ben Simmons trade mailbag department of the mailbag. By the way, the email address is rightstrickysanchez@gmail.com. One basketball and one non-basketball. By the way, Mayang's non-basketball question was, if you didn't waste hours watching the Sixers and podcasting about them, what would you realistically be doing instead?
I'm trying to discover that right now.
Yeah.
Be more helpful.
Yeah.
In some way.
It's a good thing. Yeah. Just somebody. Yeah. I would certainly sleep more. I would do everything a little bit more. I would be like when the star on the team is hurt and everyone else has to score 2 more points to make up for it. That's what I would do. So I'd have 2 more points of everything else. The Ben Simmons part of the mailbag is brought to us by Kinetic Skateboarding. I'm wearing if you're watching on YouTube, I'm wearing my camo sweatpants, my camo Kinetic sweatpants. I think that's the second time I've shown my bottoms during the pod. KineticSkateboarding.com. Show your bottoms. Get yourself some clothes or skateboards. Dave Silver is the promo code for 9.1% off your first order. Okay, here are the trades. We got a bunch of them. First one comes from Dan. Ben Simmons and George Hill and a first to Cleveland for Sexton, Love, and Larry Nance. Cleveland pairs Simmons with Garland to form their new core, and there's another iteration where they trade us Sexton, number 3, and Love, and whatever. Forget about this. So what do you think about Simmons, Hill, and a first to Cleveland for Sexton, Love, and Larry Nance?
I definitely don't think you have to throw in a first for that. I mean, Sexton has improved, he had a horrible rookie year and has had mixed to like year. Pretty good, and his scoring average is very high. It really remains to be seen how much he's a guy that contributes to winning.
I like Garland so much better. I don't think either of them are ready for this, for where they need to be, but I like Garland better.
I think Sexton and Maxey have a lot of overlap to them. I don't think that they are particularly well suited to play together. It sort of bumps one of them to a sixth man, Jordan Clarkson type role. And Love, I don't think, is a great fit with, not so much with Embiid, but definitely not with Tobias.
Well, he had a second part of the thing where he trades Tobias, by the way. So we'll get to that.
That's a lot. It would not be high on my list of moves to do, although I do like Larry Nance quite a bit. And I do think Kevin Love has more basketball in him that he's sort of wasting away in Cleveland. AU really likes his take, but with everybody succeeding, like Blake Griffin bouncing back, the nobody sucks take just needs to be in the right situation or needs to be motivated properly. I feel like that applies to Kevin Love. But no, I wouldn't be. That wouldn't be like high on my list of Ben trades. No.
The second part of his trade is Tobias Harris to Charlotte for Terry Rozier and salary filler. A backcourt of Rozier and Sexton would be hilarious, but I think we would all
Maxey,
bash.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. This one comes from Brett. Is there any chance in hell that the Warriors would do a Clay for Ben swap? Clay has been one of my favorite non-Sixers for years now. I'd kill to get him on the team. Thought process is that Clay is coming off 2 major injuries, which makes it perfect to trade for him. And the Warriors aren't getting any younger. There's enough shooting on Golden State to mask Ben's unwillingness to do so. Plus, I feel like Kerr could actually get through to him. The toughest part is obviously he doesn't fit with Draymond. So what do you think? Ben for Clay. I do not think that the Warriors would do it.
I don't think either team does it. No.
You don't think the Sixers do it?
No, he's coming off 2 really bad knee injuries in a row. He's older. Those are some serious injuries that could be trading for no one at all.
His non-basketball question. Okay, you said no. I don't know how Clay is physically. There's serious injuries. I don't know. Kevin Durant just came back from a fucking Achilles and looks like
different
almost
kind
exactly
of player,
this.
Different kind of player.
Well, how?
Well, Durant is so much bigger than everybody else that he can just shoot it high and get to his spots and not have to play. Clay, so much of his game is based on movement and cutting around and snaking through screens and all that stuff, and having that level of being able to plant. Not that Durant doesn't. I mean, I just think looking at Durant and saying, like, if he did it, anybody can. I think he's really the anomaly in that situation. Because you've seen so many people not be able to bounce back.
Was Clay ACL? Is that what it was?
2 ACLs.
Yeah. I don't know. Non-basketball question. Which 3 people, dead or alive, would you have at your ultimate dinner table?
I don't know. I don't know. These questions are always very... Why would they be there? Do I want them to fight? Am I resurrecting them? It's not a... I guess I don't value conversation between famous people.
Well, it doesn't have to be
table that much.
Someone famous. That I think one thing that Klosterman said when he answered a question like this is that he would probably just have people he already knew.
Yeah.
Because if
I would
it's
have
just
a dinner
one
party
dinner.
with some friends.
Yeah.
That would be it. 3 of my friends.
All right, this one comes from John. Sign it. We've heard different iterations of this several times, I think. Sign and trade with Toronto. Simmons and Shake Milton for Lowry and Birch.
I mean, maybe. I think it remains to be seen how much Lowry has left in the tank. Very few guards his size have been able to succeed as long as he has, and he basically took most of this year off. Not as rest, but just wasn't healthy. He wasn't. It seemed like they were fine not playing him due to injury and just knowing sort of that
was
this
such
was
a lost season
for them in Tampa. So I don't know. I wouldn't feel like, especially if Lowry's getting signed, it's a sign and trade. So that means he would have to want to come here. I definitely wouldn't feel the need to throw in more than Simmons. So not a trade I'd be thrilled about, but I think Lowry would, once the trade is over, I do think Lowry would be awesome here when healthy.
I liked Lowry as additive. I don't love Lowry as a solution. as a solution in place of. I think he would be good, but like I don't think he's quite as good as. Like I just think they need something more. I think they need somebody who can score a little bit more and create a little bit more. And he would obviously be good, and as long as he's healthy, to your point, he would make them maybe a little bit better. I don't think, not that they have to have the solution with this trade, but I don't think it's good enough. I don't, especially with your most major trade chip. I just don't think Lowry's enough.
Yeah, if you could swap Lowry, even Simmons, and Lowry's contract is like 2 years, $55 million, whatever it is, something like that, where he'd end his career here, and sort of, I think him and Maxey could play together in a Lowry Van Vliet type of way, and that would be so valuable for Maxey's development. I think it would work if he's healthy, and maintains the level of play he's at. Chris Paul is doing it. In Phoenix,
he's also way better than Kyle Lowry.
I think
he's way better.
I think Lowry's a better shooter, though, as far as more willing to space the floor off ball and sort of not have to have the ball in his hands the whole time.
But we need somebody who needs the ball in their hands.
No, but he can. I think he can do it, and he can also allow other people to do it. Allow Embiid to work from the post. Allow Maxey to run the offense. Hopefully next year, in some sense. I think it would be good. I don't know why. I always sort of make fun of teams in any sport when they're like, "Oh, we're not trading players within the division or that are nearby or something." But I feel between the Brooklyn proposed theoretical trade and this Toronto trade, like I don't want them nearby. Like it feels like breaking up with someone and then being like, but like your brother can date him though, right? Like it feels very odd and it makes me uncomfortable where Ben would be so close. Obviously it's not the main objective, but that would make me uncomfortable and it would feel sort of gross to me.
Would hate the 3 times a year that Ben would fucking rock us for 6 or 8 points. It would be, I don't even know how we would recover. And by the way, I think Chris Paul is like 35% better than Kyle Lowry. Like I think it's a different,
I'm
different level.
I'm not disagreeing. That's the idea that Lowry is a better catch and shoot player, a more willing catch and shoot player, moves the ball more. Chris Paul is sort of settles in a way that obviously is good, but as far as later in his career goes, there is an argument to. I mean, also Chris Paul's not available, but the idea that Lowry could just fit in and be a Chauncey Billups type catch and shoot guy, in addition to the occasional like running the offense, running pick and roll, getting to the rim, that kind of thing.
All right. This comes from Charles. Hey, guys, serious question. Serious here. If Dame wants out of Portland, who can offer a better package than the Sixers with Ben Simmons? Ben, Maxey, $1 million first. Why wouldn't Portland take that if it gets to that point? If you're Dame, why wouldn't you want to play with Embiid instead of CJ McCollum? Everyone is throwing cold water on a Dame trade, but I can see it happening.
I just don't think that they're going to trade him and that he feels the need to leave right now. The feeling I got out of the report was like, and I'm not fucking around anymore. We got to win. And maybe that means splitting up Dame and CJ, although I think they're very close. But they just got a new coach. I don't think that they hire that coach without Dame really signing off on it. So I'd be very, very, very surprised if they move on from him. Like he's the team, and he is like an icon in the city.
He sure is.
So and he wants to win there. So maybe if this season falls off a cliff or they try one more thing, maybe without CJ, and that goes poorly, doesn't seem any improvement or moving towards championship contention, then maybe that door opens. But I think that's Dame saying like, don't fuck around. Like, I'm getting older. I'm playing at an extremely high level. I want to win a championship here, but I'm not just like committing the rest of my career here without any, without any guarantee of like that you're trying to do everything it takes to win a championship. I'm not happy with just like making the playoffs and being on the ride.
I think the real question too is if Portland had to trade him, what do they want to do? And if they want to just rebuild, and then Dame would have to go somewhere that wants a champion. I think it's pretty complicated. I think there are a lot of teams that could offer better packages than the Sixers can, or comparable, especially in terms of draft capital. But he might not want to go to those places. Maybe he doesn't want to go to Philly. To your point, I think my sense was not that get me out of here. It was make this better is what and I think we're another year away from the Dame Lillard trade thing. This comes from Ben. Who knows? Maybe it's the Ben. Basketball question. If we're going to trade Ben, which we should, why not ship him to Orlando for the number 5 pick? Orlando can absorb his cap hit and he'll land in the arms of a loving fan base who is just happy to have a team. Then, with cap space cleared, sign Kawhi Leonard and win a title with a lineup of Maxey, Curry, Leonard, Tobias, and Embiid.
Kawhi's probably going to stay in LA. He would have to really want to come here, so it seems like a quick leap to that happening. You're also not, there's no version of a trade, a Ben Simmons trade that doesn't get you back a player that would help right now more than that. Yeah. There's really no,
even if it's 3-way, it might be 3-way, it might not be 1-for-1, but
for sure.
Yes,
that's if there's one team that wants to rebuild, that wants whatever version of it is. But the Sixers cannot get back just like, and here's a top 5 pick, especially 5. If it was 2, maybe you could make the argument to yourself, but I doubt it. But the Sixers, like, they already have plenty of young, talented guys, and Daryl has shown that he can find contributors up and down the draft, and currently on the roster. But no, that's why there's so many limitations on a Ben trade, because it has to be both beneficial to the Sixers right now and also a team that doesn't have an established system in place that really needs a Ben Simmons type. It's very like, it's a tricky trade. There's really probably only like 4 or 5 teams that would even somewhat work out on both ends.
Well, and I think you have to make a list of teams who would be interested in adding Ben. That's the first thing that you have to do. And, I think that's, I clearly don't think it's nobody, but once you start eliminating teams, once you start saying, okay, they got to want Ben, then they gotta have something to trade, even if it's a third team. Like, there's a lot complicated, which is why I'm glad that we have a real president of basketball operations here to navigate this.
Yeah, I really think that there's I think the Spurs are interesting. I think Sacramento is a possibility. Maybe Cleveland, maybe Orlando. I struggle to, and obviously Portland for the CJ
Chicago.
Spot. And Chicago, although I really don't think that it would have to be Levine saying, I'm not fucking signing here. Because I find it hard to believe that they would say.
They want to give that money to Ben and not Levine. Basically, is the decision they'd be making.
Yeah, I think Ben Vucevic is a really cool front court pairing. But yeah, I just don't see them. I think there's a risk of, and I'm sort of falling into the trap of maybe overcorrecting, watching like how good Trae Young is, how many low defense perimeter offense has been succeeding in this playoffs. And I think there's some risk of overcorrecting and being like, well, actually defense maybe doesn't matter much at all. And you just need to, like, Zach LaVine's very good, but like, and so is Jordan Clarkson, but like Jordan Clarkson might be a better basketball player than Ben Simmons. Like, is I think a very wild overcorrection for how much perimeter offense is rewarded now compared to very good perimeter defense. Hopefully the NBA rules committee changes that, especially with how easy it is for them to, especially guys like Trey, like sucker fouls on the perimeter by like sort of throwing your body into people from behind, all that like junk stuff that's not basketball. Hopefully that overcorrects it, or sorry, that adjusts it and goes back to like some more balance. Although I'm sure there will be more people, as Daryl said, like trying to juke the rules in whatever ways they can to win, as is their right. But it's the NBA's job to try to like find balance. So hopefully that will take a little bit of the steam off of just perimeter grifting. But I do worry that there is, like, because of what's happening in this playoffs, everything's about what's happening like right now. But I do worry because the Sixers with Ben and Matisse as excellent perimeter defensive players, like couldn't get past the Hawks. I worry that there's some overcorrection happening, and I feel like it's happening to me also, being like, well, why don't we get 18 Terry Roziers and just beat everybody off the dribble?
But perimeter offense has always been way more important than perimeter defense. Of
course, but there's a
always.
balance. There's a balance
just,
to it. And you've seen guys get like swallowed up in playoffs that you didn't expect it, and guys get exposed on defense in a way that you didn't expect it, and all that stuff.
All I know is that the Spurs won championships with Tony Parker as their lead guard, who couldn't guard anybody, and it's just like, it's always been more important. It's anyone who's ever had this Ben conversation that talks about his defense. His defense is nice, but with the amount of pick and roll that everybody runs, and the difficulty it is to keep that guy on you, with the amount of switching that happens, even though the Sixers don't switch that much, it's always been more valuable, and it's less valuable now than it has been. To your point, maybe they've said they're going to adjust the rules, but it will still always be more valuable. I'd always rather have a perimeter player who is excellent on offense and below average on defense than someone who is excellent on defense and below average on offense, especially if you're talking about a player for $35 million a year, for 30% of your cap, His Ben's non-basketball question, just kidding, another basketball question, is Brett Brown going to turn into Gabe Kapler with some silly team like the Kings, while Doc Rivers will prove to be Joe Girardi, good but not a game changer?
Yeah, that sounds
possible.
That sounds like it.
Yeah. Yeah, it certainly sounds possible. All right, I have a 4-team trade next. Before we get to it, The Rights to Ricky Sanchez is brought to you by Big Barker Therapeutic Dog Beds. Big Barker Therapeutic Dog Beds. My wife and I were planning a vacation, and we knew that we couldn't fit our current Big Barker in the car with the luggage, so we bought another Big Barker that we were going to send to the place where we're going on vacation, so Rebel can sleep in a Big Barker. That's how important it is. Not even for a few days is Rebel to not sleep on a Big Barker. He'll probably ignore it and sleep in the bed. In any case, it's the only real dog bed in the market, and if you love your pet, if you truly love your pet, you will get your dog a Big Barker. BigBarker.com/Ricky. BigBarker.com/Ricky is where you go for the Big Barker, for the processed pup patches, for the only bed that is truly protecting your dog's joints, truly cares about your dog's health. And if you've heard me say it once, you've heard me say it 100 times, your dog sleeps 75% of the day. So your dog should be sleeping in something good. And when you think about the dog beds that you bought from the pet store, just look at it. I want you to look at it right now. When the dog is laying on that, it's really just laying on the floor. It's basically laying on a pillow or a blanket. Needs to be laying on a real mattress. Big Barkers are real mattresses for all size dogs, even though it's called Big Barker, from Barker Jr. all the way up to the giant one. BigBarker.com/Ricky, a 10-year warranty. The foam doesn't flatten or they replace it for free. 1-year at-home trial. Made in the USA. Big Barker dog beds.
Bark.
From Allen, 4-team trade. All right, here we go. Sacramento. Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. These are 4 different trades and then the 4-team trade. All right, you'll shoot these down pretty quickly, I think, at least a couple of them. The first one, Sacramento. Ben Simmons for Buddy Hield and Tyrese Halliburton.
it's very interesting. I love Halliburton. I don't think Fox Simmons works, although it's very fast in transition. That'd be wild. I think that they love the Fox Halliburton pairing and are going to run with it. So I think they would say no. I think Buddy Hield is fine. Not somebody like I'm crazy excited about. Obviously, he has a tremendous amount of volume shooting. I love Halliburton. I've loved Halliburton for years. Not an excellent. His strength is not penetrating.
Yeah.
His strength is not getting to the basket and all that stuff. Although I think he's improving that.
He's Lonzo-esque in that way, sort of. He's very in the flow of the game sort of player.
Very in the flow of the game. Incredible passer, incredible transition player. Decent to good shooter, although it remains to be seen how quick he is off that. Doesn't really get fouled. I love Halliburton, and I'm not sure if he can be the primary perimeter creator that you're looking for. Although I think Maxey Halliburton is a lineup that could work. I don't know. I don't think it's something that Joel would be like, yes, here we go. We're riding on this team. But I think Halliburton would help with what you lose from Simmons' passing, as the team would have no positive good passers on it. I'm intrigued. I like Halliburton enough that I'm intrigued by it, and Buddy Hield is fine, even though he's getting paid too much.
Yeah. Buddy Hield really needs to be making $8 or $12 million. Not 28. All right, his next trade. Indiana receives Ben Simmons and Shake Milton. Philly receives Malcolm Brogdon, Jeremy Lamb, and Goga
Bitadze. Jeremy Lamb is very often hurt, but the kind of player that it seems like we haven't had on this team in a very long time, which is like sort of just like a silky smooth, true wing. Brogdon also hurt regularly. I don't think that's a bad trade. I don't know how much Goga would be like. There's our backup center. He's a good. There's interest in Goga. Like, he's a fascinating kind of player. I wonder if Indiana does it.
Well, Ben with Sabonis and Miles, like Miles Turner, I don't think that works at all.
Yeah,
so. Maybe he could play with Miles Turner. I guess he could play with Miles Turner.
He could play with Miles Turner for sure.
Yeah.
Sabonis, it'd be a little
Sabonis is a weird fit.
More bizarre. Yeah. Although, maybe Sabonis Simmons is a very interesting, very lefty, very powerful pick and roll combination.
Well, and they also have
LeVert.
Karis LeVert, and they have the guy who T.J. Warren, who didn't even play this year.
Yeah, it's a lot of like big, shouldery guys. Very odd.
Next one. San Antonio receives Ben Simmons. Philadelphia receives DeMar DeRozan and Derek White.
So that would require a DeRozan sign and trade.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I think DeRozan is, because of the kind of teams he's played on, because of how much responsibility he's had, and because Kawhi's just better than he is, has gotten a pretty better at it. He's also very unwilling to shoot threes, but can certainly get his own shot.
Become a pretty good passer.
Become a very good passer.
Yeah,
from the wing. It'd be interesting. I feel like DeRozan would give us the sort of offensive stuff that Jimmy did with Joel, and is definitely a get you a bucket guy. DeRozan Tobias is. I don't think that's very pleasant. I love Derek White. Everything. Yeah, I mean, DeRozan as your best player you're not going to get anywhere with it. But Embiid as a true number one with Tobias and DeRozan as like
combining for 1.5 threes a game by that point. I don't think
it wouldn't be great, but there's certainly enough perimeter creation, especially with Derek White there. And if you just put, Seth some other shooter, DeRozan, Tobias, Embiid, is pretty good. I don't know.
I'm not encouraged. That would be a no for me. And final one, I think we would both do this. Chicago receives Ben Simmons. Philadelphia receives Zach LaVine and Tomas Satoransky.
I was trying to get Thad in that trade. Simmons and nice. Something for LaVine and Thad.
I'd love to have Thad.
I think that would be
Satoransky
cool.
can play some point, and because the Sixers are still missing a. I would trade him for, I guess in this world that you're starting Maxey, but a Maxey-Levine backcourt. You're testing the limits of defense in a Maxey-Levine backcourt. I think
that'd be fine. So, I think Maxey is going to be a positive defender as a point guard eventually, and I think he's shown enough flashes of that. And Maxey-Levine with like Curry, maybe Curry's in there at some point, Like, say it's Curry, Levine, Danny or Matisse, Tobias, Embiid. Like, that's a really good team. That's a very good team with Tyrese off the bench or Maxey off the bench or Seth off the bench. I think that's a very good team, and you'd figure it out. And I think to your point, there's guys you can find Royce O'Neals to throw in for stretches.
We always say this, but we never do.
Well, we don't need him, right? I mean, Matisse is that. I think if you had another guy that was like mostly defense and a let the guy shoot on offense, they wouldn't play on this team. And now if Ben is gone, then you'd have more room for those kinds of players. I don't know. I don't think Chicago would do it, but
no, I don't think so either.
If he tells them like, I'm not interested in this, in whatever's going on here, then maybe they would. Also, Mark Eversley is in Chicago, so he was obviously he was in the front office when Ben got drafted with Colangelo. So I think there might be something there. He obviously loves Matisse, we know that, but I'd be reluctant to trade Ben and Matisse in the same trade because Matisse becomes so valuable if Ben is gone. It's interesting. All right, give me the 4-teamer.
Okay, the 4-teamer is actually terrible. I just like his second question. This comes from Sarab. I saw this on Twitter. I think it's a pretty interesting trade idea. What do you think? Simmons goes to Utah. Gobert goes to Dallas. Porzingis goes to Sacramento. And Buddy Hield goes to Philadelphia.
I was liking everything until the last one.
Yeah, it's interesting until we end up with Ben for Buddy Hield.
Yeah, because Gobert to Dallas could be cool. Porzingis to Sacramento could be cool.
Porzingis sucks, man.
He does suck, but he's better than, I think, at least at a position of need, is better than
Hield,
maybe.
Oof. Man, if this ends up with Ben Simmons for Buddy Hield, I can't.
That's not something anybody can do.
I can't.
That's not something Daryl will do. Like, that's the thing is, like, there is no, as much as the heat is on right now, I think it'll dissipate, and you'll remember, and like his value will improve as the offseason goes on, and people, take a honest look at their rosters and stuff. And now that the lottery is a little bit more, shaken out, like teams are seeing what they can get and what they didn't get. I would love it if Minnesota had if D'Angelo Russell was good, I would feel really good about it. D'Angelo Russell and Malik Beasley for Ben Simmons.
Yeah, trade. D'Angelo Russell just fucking sucks, though.
He's just
the
not
guy
good.
Sucks.
He's just really he's not a talented player.
He had one outlier year with
and
the
even
Nets.
that he didn't.
Like, just
yeah,
that
it just
one
didn't
year.
look. He doesn't pop athletically. Doesn't pop at all on defense. He's a good passer, but not excellent. He's just slow. He doesn't get fouled, like you said. Like, just not good. I love Malik Beasley, though. I think Malik Beasley on this team would be very cool. Like Maxey Beasley would be a very fun situation. But D'Angelo's just not. He's just not good. He's not good at basketball.
D'Angelo Russell sucks.
Yeah.
Finally, do you? And then just one quick final question after this. Do you define any of the following 4 things as salads? Tuna salad, macaroni salad, fruit salad, and trail mix. To me, the only one of those that is salad is fruit salad. Tuna salad and macaroni salad are not salad.
Oh, I don't think fruit salad is salad either.
Really?
Salad
you can't just
has
put
to-
mayonnaise in something and make it salad.
Salad has to have
That's
a
what-
base of something like predominantly green. And fruit salad
Honeydew.
is just... But that's not... It's not... That's green in the sense of like, you know, there's green Apple Jacks. I don't think... No, I don't think any of those are salad. No. I decline.
Okay. And finally, this comes from Timothy. Can you do a podcast this offseason where it's just the support podcast team? CJ, Abby, Sixers Adam, Alonzo, AU, Mike O'Connor, Zainab.
Sure. I'll take a
Just
week
all
off.
of them. Just like a Brady Bunch style. I would be fine. Abby doesn't even like basketball. you
Yeah,
know,
that's a good
which would
element
be-
to add.
Yeah.
No, those guys are all excellent, and I wonder who the host would be in that situation.
Yeah, who's the lead? It's probably CJ? Is it?
CJ can,
Because-
it might be CJ just as like all those
point
other
guard
people
type
have
guy?
opinions. Not that CJ doesn't. CJ, hello. But like AU, I feel like it would be, he'd just be running. And those other guys feel more like set me up and I'll knock it in. I feel like it'd be CJ. And I'd be interested to hear other people's opinions there.
Speaking of CJ, congratulations as we end the podcast. Congratulations to CJ because as we'll be off for this week and then back next weekend. But CJ becoming sort of like full on Ricky producer, not just video producer. Will be producing audio, means I have to do less. Basically taking all the things I don't want to do anymore, and CJ will be doing them. So thank you, CJ, who has made Mike be conscious of the fact that he's on video for some of the podcasts, which would have
Reluctantly.
never happened without CJ. Yeah, so congratulations, CJ. Someone hire him, but hire him in a way that allows him to keep doing this thing. So you can find CJ and hire him. All right, we will talk to you next weekend. I suppose if anything crazy happens this week, we could do a podcast. But please, just Sixers, just give it a rest, a few days. All right, are you done with TTP?
Yeah. You know opinions or feelings.
If you don't fuck with me, then I won't fuck with you.
If you don't fuck with me,
Then I won't fuck with you.
but if you fuck with me,
I'm gonna fucking kill you!
Time for plan B.